History is defined by long, slow transitions, but the shift from human speculation to absolute truth happened at a single, specific, measurable instant in time. In a fraction of a second, the eternal divine, the owner of all dominion, directed his focus toward a perishing human creature, isolated in a tiny, rocky corner of the earth. We often read about this moment in biographies of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and then simply turn the page. The sheer ontological scale of the event gets lost in the narrative sequence of his life. Before this specific instant, the human conscience relied strictly on earthly observations and internal desires to build its values. This state of deriving knowledge from within the human condition is known as Jahiliyyah. Then, the metric for truth relocated. It moved from the earth to the highest assembly in the heavens. To understand exactly how this intervention dismantled earthly knowledge and established a celestial epistemology, we are going to deconstruct the exact words that triggered it, the first 5 verses of Surah Al Alaq. The event at Hira intervened in human history to dictate the exact parameters of human thought. By unanimous agreement among scholars, the opening of this surah constitutes the absolute first words of the final revelation. These 5 verses established the baseline for all future knowledge. Notice the immediate direction of the text. The very first command given is not an instruction on ritual prayer or social behavior. The command is Iqra, read. It targets the mechanism of acquiring knowledge. But this reading is strictly conditional. It must be executed in the name of your Rabb. The divine is established as the essential, non-negotiable starting point for any intellectual awareness. This diagram shows human history as a horizontal, terrestrial trajectory. For millennia, humans built upon the ideas of other humans. Then, that horizontal line is suddenly pierced by a heavy vertical beam of divine revelation. We can label this exact intersection point the epistemological fracture. It marks the exact second the human conscience was forced to look up. From this point onward, human knowledge remains tethered to its creator. This is Jabal al-Nur. The physical environment where this shift occurred was harsh, isolating, and entirely removed from the comforts of Meccan society. The narrations recorded in the Sahihain detail how the messenger retreated to the Cave of Hira on this mountain, dedicating himself to solitary worship for consecutive nights. When the event finally occurred, his initial psychological reaction was pure terror. He feared for his life, and he worried he had become a poet or a madman. He was not expecting or seeking the burden he was about to receive. The narration of Aisha describes a severe physical mechanism of transfer. The angel Jibril seized the messenger and pressed him until, as the text describes, the utmost exertion was reached. He is released and commanded to read. He replies, "I am not one who reads." He is seized and pressed a second time and then a third. This repeated physical exhaustion illustrates the immense weight required to transition the human mind into a vessel capable of carrying the divine word. Fleeing the cave, he looked to the sky and saw Jibril filling the horizon in the form of a man. Whichever direction he turned his face, the angel was there, inescapable. The involuntary nature of the prophet's physical exhaustion and the persistence of the visual phenomena suggest an external force acting upon him rather than a sought-after internal state. This encounter forcibly redirected the human conscience toward a higher source. The text of Surah Al Alaq reinforces this external intervention by pointing to human biology. Verse 2 states, "Created man from a clinging substance," an alaq. This describes a microscopic, frozen blood point clinging to the wall of the womb. It is an origin of total simplicity and base material. 3 verses later, the text contrasts this base origin with an elevated destiny. Taught man what he did not know. This graph maps the ontological leap described in the surah. You have base material at the bottom and a human being capable of comprehending cosmic truths at the top. Biological progression alone does not bridge this gap. The text attributes this massive leap entirely to the Creator's generosity, al-Akram. The human intellect is therefore not a self-made achievement. It is a divine gift specifically designed to elevate base matter to the rank of knowledge. This image highlights the specific instrument cited in verse 4, the one who taught by the pen. Here lies a stark paradox. The messenger receiving this command did not write, yet the pen is identified in the opening moment as the supreme tool of divine teaching. If the prophet had authored this text himself, he would not have centered the very first message on an instrument he did not use. We are looking at two distinct models of knowledge. On the left, Bashariyah, where mankind derives values from earthly desires. On the right, Rabbaniyah, deriving values directly from divine revelation. The span between them is a vast distance within the human conscience, a gap that cannot be measured by any physical distance between planets or stars. By identifying the pen as the instrument and Allah as the teacher, the surah seals its argument. The singular source of all true knowledge exists entirely outside of humanity. The psychological weight of this celestial connection is best understood by looking at what happened when it ended, following the Prophet's death 23 years later. Abu Bakr and Umar visited Ayman, a close companion of the Prophet. When they arrived, she wept. When reminded that what is with Allah is better for the messenger, she clarified her grief, stating clearly, "I weep because the revelation from heaven has ceased." That direct, active link between the earth and the highest assembly was cut. But the methodology, the divine standard of truth, remained. The coordinates established on the earth were clear, lofty, and completely resistant to the erosion of time or political events. The epistemological fracture created a new birth for human thought. Truth was no longer subject to human ambiguity. It was anchored to a celestial proof. How does a human actually live within this specific cosmic framework established at Hira? The practical manifestation of the command to read in the name of your Rabb is visible in the Prophet's daily life, as analyzed by the scholar Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah. He details dhikr, or remembrance. Ibn Qayyim notes the Prophet was the most complete in remembrance. All his speech fell under this category. His remembrance flowed with his physical breaths, covering his standing, sitting, riding, and even his silence. This total alignment of action and silence with the divine presence is what it means to live directly beneath the eye of Allah. It is the practical objective of the new methodology. Every thought begins in the name of Allah, every action proceeds by His name, and every outcome returns to Him. The establishment of this absolute standard of truth demands our total conscious engagement, a command to read that never ends.